What's up guys, and if you've played Sun and Moon a bit so far, you might have noticed that some of the Dex entries are a bit dark, or creepy, or scary. Here are my top 10 from what I've seen so far. Starting off at number 10, we have Frozlass. Now, in Pokemon Sun, her Dex entry says, when it finds humans or Pokemon it likes, it freezes them and takes them to its chilly den, where they become decorations. This Pokemon freezes, people and other Pokemon in ice and keeps them as decorations. This is basically what you see in movies where the antagonist is keeping, well, not quite stuffed animals, because obviously it's even worse, they're still alive. Frozlass is just weird. But then in Moon, its Dex entry reads, the soul of a woman lost on a snowy mountain possessed an icicle, becoming this Pokemon. The food it most relishes is the souls of men, so as well as keeping these people and Pokemon as icicle statues, it eats men's souls, which means it's killing them. This Pokemon kills people. These are pretty dark. Moving on to number 9, we have one of the new Pokemon, Toxapex. Sun tells us that Toxapex crawls along the ocean floor on its 12 legs. It leaves a trail of solar bits scattered in its wake. That's already pretty creepy. Marini and Toxapex, I can't say that name at all, they both eat Corsola's sort of coral bits. They eat Corsola, and in the games Corsola calls for help and Marini comes in and is like, hi, I'm going to attack you now. So they eat Corsola, and Toxapex just leaves Corsola just around. It's really quite weird. But in Moon it gets even worse, because we're told that those attacks by Toxapex's poison will suffer intense pain for 3 days and 3 nights. That's already pretty bad, It's just got to poison you, and then you're in bed, you're in intense pain. Not just like, I've got to go to the hospital and get some meds. No, intense pain. And after that, it says post-recovery, there will be some after effects. You get poisoned by this Pokemon, it's going to affect you for the rest of your life. This thing is not necessarily deadly, but pretty damn dangerous. Then at number 8, we have one of the most liked Pokemon from Generation 7 so far, which is Mimikyu. And Mimikyu, again, not quite its intentions are good probably, because in Pokemon Sun we hear its actual appearance is unknown. A scholar whose soul was under its rag was overwhelmed by terror and died from shock. But in Moon, it sort of weighs out. We're told a lonely Pokemon, it conceals its terrifying appearance beneath an old rag, so it can get closer to people and other Pokemon. So its intentions are good. It's not intending to kill people like some of these other Pokemon. But if you look at Mimikyu, you could die from shock. And that is quite a scary thought, You're just cleaning your Mimikyu, just, giving it little stroke in Pokemon Refresh, and whoops, there goes the cloth, and you're dead. Not exactly the safest Pokemon to own. Then we have a Pokemon you might not expect to see anywhere on this list, and that is Sliggoo. In Pokemon Sun, we hear it has trouble drawing a line between friends and food. It will calmly try to melt and eat, even those it gets along well with. So, okay, cool. It can't quite tell what's friend and what's food and what's foe and whatever. That's alright. It's but trying to eat them, okay, that's not too bad. But then we hear in Moon that its mucus can dissolve anything. It's got no teeth, so it sprays mucus on its prey, and once they're nicely dissolved, it slurps them up. So you're just hanging out with your bro Sliggoo, and then he just turns and he's feeling pretty hungry, so just spits some mucus on you, you start dissolving, and then he slurps you up. And he doesn't even really care, because he just thinks you're food. This is a pretty, not so creepy, well, I guess it's pretty creepy. You just go sleep, oh no, that's my hand, it's not exactly what you want to be doing if you're a Pokemon trainer, so that's a pretty sick Pokemon, I guess you could say. Then we move on to a pretty sad entry, and that is Cubo. Most of Cubo's entries are pretty sad, but I think this maybe tops them. In Sun, we're told when it thinks of its deceased mother, it weeps loudly, already pretty bad. But when it weeps, Mandibuzz that hear these cries will then attack it. So just see that picture of Cubo just holding its little club, crying over its dead mother, and then Mandibuzz fly down and start pecking and, squawking at it. That's not a nice picture, really. In terms of Moon's entry, it's not as bad. We're told, the skull is dead mother, we knew that already, but according to some, it will evolve when it comes to terms with the pain of her death. And I mean, that's pretty harsh as well, in terms of, some Pokemon just have to have a stone to evolve. Cubone has to accept and come to terms with the pain of its own mother's death. Not exactly the nicest thing you want to do to evolve. Then at number 5 we have Drifloon. Now this Pokemon's had some pretty creepy entries beforehand, and Pokemon Sun's entry isn't anything new apart from the last line. We're told that stories go that it grabs hands of small children and drags them away to the afterlife. We've heard that before, pretty standard for Drifloon. But this extra line has been added. It dislikes heavy children. It's not inherently a creepy or a dark line, but it just really hits you. It's like, whoa, that's too far. No, let's take a step back, Drifloon. Just calm down. And Moon's entry isn't much better. It tells us that if for some reason its body bursts, its soul spills out with a screaming sound. So if you pop a Drifloon, it's going to just scream out just a deafening sound probably, as its soul just escapes into the world. Drifloon is not necessarily a Pokemon you want to leave around your kids. Then at number 4, we have a few different Pokemon, because for the first time in Pokemon Sun and Moon, we actually had Dex entries for Mega Evolutions. We get a little sort of insight into what Mega Evolutions are actually like, and the short story is, it's not nice for most Pokemon. First up we have Kangaskhan, and we hear that Kangaskhan's strength derives from the mother's happiness about her child's growth. Watching it grow up keeps her spirits high. Great, brilliant, that's lovely, but in Moon, we're told that its child grows, but as the child is only good at fighting and nothing else, its mother feels uneasy about its future. So this little child here, it's grown up thanks to Mega Evolution, but because it's only good at fighting, its mother worries that because it's, not necessarily a normal child, it's brutal, it's fighting, it's, in a death match basically. It's a weird dynamic between these two. We then go to Gyarados, and we hear that Mega Evolution also affects its brain, leaving no other function except its destructive instinct to burn everything to cinders. So Mega Evolving your Gyarados makes it more powerful, but it also affects its brain somehow. It gives it a mental condition and drives it insane, and it just turns around and burns everything down. Normal Gyarados isn't much better, but Mega Gyarados with that extra power just wants to burn everything. That's not exactly something you want to deal with in the middle of a battle. Aerodactyl is much better, and we hear in Moon that when it Mega Evolves, it becomes more vicious than ever before, and some say that's because of its excess power is causing it pain. You're Mega Evolving your Aerodactyl in battle, and it's in pain, so it just becomes vicious to sort of exude this pain onto others. Mega Evolution is not a nice concept. And we hear then for Glalie that the excess energy from Mega Evolution spilled over from its mouth, breaking its jaw. And then in Moon we hear that its jaw is dislocated. You Mega Evolving your Glalie breaks its jaw open, and it can't close its jaw. It's hanging there, it's powerful, but it's just got a limp jaw holding here. You've caused it a lot of pain by using it in this battle as a Mega Evolution, guys. And finally we come to Salamence. We hear in Sun, we hear that anyone standing in its path gets sliced right in two, and it continues to fly without interruption, so it's pretty heartless to begin with. But in Moon, Mega Evolution fuels its brutality, and it may even turn on the trainer who raised it. This thing is out of control. It's been dubbed the Blood-Soaked Crescent. This thing just will kill anything, basically. Even the trainer raised it from a Bagon to a Shelgon to a Salamence, and then Mega Evolved it, and it will turn around and kill you like that. Mega Evolutions are dangerous and they're uncontrollable. Be careful, guys. Then we come to number 3, and we have another new Pokemon here, and this is Palossand. In Sun, we hear that possessed people controlled by this Pokemon transformed its sand into a castle. Pretty decent, and as it evolved, its power to curse grew even stronger. But in Moon, we hear that buried beneath the castle are masses of dried up bones from those whose vitality is drained. So it catches prey, sucks them in, sucks the life out of them, and leaves its bones inside it and buried underneath it. This Pokemon is a graveyard in itself. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to use this on a Pokemon team, knowing that every time I send it out, there are bones of people and other Pokemon underneath it. Not a nice sort of vision, I suppose. Then we come to the penultimate one. We have an evolution line here, not just one Pokemon, but a whole evolution line, because their story in Sun and Moon is pretty dark. We start off with Mankey's entries, and we're told that it can spontaneously become enraged. Everyone near it clears out as it rampages, and this loneliness only makes it angrier. So it's already a pretty, it's got some issues where it can just become crazy, and then it can just, because everyone leaves it, gets even crazier. And then we hear in Moon that its raging tires out and causes it to fall asleep. But anger in its dreams causes it to wake up, which makes it even angrier again. So it gets angry, it tires out, goes to sleep, has anger in its dreams, wakes up and gets angry again, and it's the whole cycle. And you can imagine this is what Mankey's life is. Just gets angry, sleeps, gets angry again, sleeps, and then people leave it and it gets even angrier. So you think, oh, it'll be alright, once it evolves into Primeape, it will get some control and it'll have a nice life. Ho ho ho, no! In the Sun we hear that Primeape has been known to become so angry that it dies as a result. However, we're told its face looks peaceful in death. And in the Moon we hear that some researchers theorise that Primeape remains angry even when inside a Pokeball. So for the whole of Mankey and Primeape's life, it has remained angry. Never has it had a moment of peace and quiet. It's angry in its Pokeball, it's angry when people leave it, it's angry when it's asleep. And the only time it gets some peace is when it dies. This Pokemon has been just tormented its whole life. And you can only be happy when it dies. So we move on to the last Pokemon, the darkest entry I've seen. Now, there is some competition between the last few, I could choose pretty much any of them. I chose Gengar though, because Gengar already is a pretty spooky Pokemon, it's got some history to it, but Sun's entry is just chilling. Should you feel yourself attacked by a sudden chill, it is evidence of an approaching Gengar. There is no escaping it. Give up. This Pokédex entry is literally talking to you. It's literally talking to you and telling you to give up if a Gengar is around, because Moon then tells us it's wishing for a travelling companion. Since it was once human itself, it tries to create one by taking the lives of other humans. So like Frozlass, it's a murderer. This Pokemon murders people to try and get a travelling companion or whatever else. This Pokemon is a cold-hearted murderer. It murders people to try and make a travelling companion. And it's not nice. So Gengar was my pick for the top, but I really could have gone for any of the last few entries because they're all pretty dark. So do feel free to let me know what you think is the darkest entry, whether it's one of these 10 or whether it's another one. And let me know whether you think is this just the RotomDex being a bit dark, or are these the actual true stories of some of these Pokemon? Let me know what you think down below, and if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. But for now, this is going to be it for today, so I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.